Few in numbers but strong in message, a small group of Bahamians today took their grievances over increasing bank fees to the streets. Our Anike Archer has the story.
Bank lines are too long. Stop dripping off Bahamians. Mortgage rates are too high. Citizens against bank exploitation. And it's the bank's time. Read the signs 5 Bahamians carried as they protested outside Scotiabank's Bay Street, decrying high bank charges. Fees an IMF paper revealed had decreased by between 8% to 186% over the last 5 years.
So this banking problem is a problem for the everyday Bahamian, and we thought it was important to highlight because it affects all of us. The rising fees are almost like taxes. All of us have to use the bank in some way, and we're basically being exploited. And that's why we came up with Citizens Against Bank Exploitation, because you have to use the bank if you're employed, you need a bank account somewhere. It's very difficult to use the union banks for certain things, and so you actually are forced to use these banks, and they continue to increase their fees. We've had a hike in fees of 187%. I don't hear the government doing anything about that or putting any regulations on what's going on. And so as citizens, we have to step forward and complain about these things so that people know exactly how we're feeling if we want to change.
The shareholders of the banks want more dividends. They want to buy another jet, they want to buy another townhouse in the Bahamas or whatever. It's money, money, money. So you try and nickel and dime and squeeze wherever you can get, a dollar from. But the bottom line for this is a national security risk. We need to understand that when you allow the bank to arbitrarily raise fees, you're raising inflation in the Bahamas. So that guy only could afford 1 tin of tuna. Today he can't afford any. What is he going to do? He's going to rob, he's going to steal, and crime goes through the roof. So this is priority number one. The government needs to take a serious look at the banking practices.
And all we're asking for is a sense of fairness. And since the minister a couple of weeks ago talked about cartels, in respect of taxes, in respect of the kind of monies that they make from the public, maybe this is a good place also for us to look at how banks right in our own country can very well be seen as, cartels kind of operation. And so we believe the minister rightfully highlighted as it relates to how things are done in this country.
I'm amazed. Most of these banks are Canadian banks. They charge 2 and 4% on mortgages and loans in Canada. How in the world we allow these people to come here and charge our Bahamian people 10, 15, 20%? It seems like the government are afraid of the banks. We don't have to be afraid of them. They don't make no great interest like what they make in the Bahamas. If they want to go, let them go.
According to organizer Dr. Denotra Archer Cartwright, this is just the first step in the group's standoff on the issue.
Some of their loan practices are very kind of predatory or, and very difficult for the Bahamians. Scotia in particular, they start at 30% down for their mortgages, and then you have to qualify to get 15% or 20%. So these are extremely high barriers for the average Bahamian out there seeking to do something. We know that they don't lend money for businesses, so Bahamians are struggling with looking for capital, with startups. There's so many issues related. It's not just them, it's also our government and their policies which favor foreign banks. We do intend to address letters to the clearing banks as well as the government, and so this is going to be a stepwise process in which we intend to gear up more and more support over a period of time.
The bank has planned another protest against the Central Bank of the Bahamas. Meantime, Labor Minister Dion Folks recently last week met with the chairman of the Clearing Banks Association and representatives of the 6 clearing banks in the Bahamas, namely RBC Finco, Scotiabank, Fidelity Bank, Commonwealth Bank, Bank of the Bahamas, and CIBC First Caribbean. The minister has only said that those discussions were frank and open and that he understands the challenge of the banks, but by same token appreciate the concern of consumers. For JCN News, I'm Anike Archer.
In other news, an outspoken politician is throwing some heavy punches at the government. Former PLP MP Leslie Millers openly accusing the misled administration of segregating Bahamians based on color.
Then you went after Mr. Penn. The government happened to rent his building during the hurricane. But whoever said it forget to say that the rent that is paid for people of color is $25 a square foot. The rent that is paid to the big white boys at Mannix and the building out west on Go Slow Bend, that's $65 a square foot and $200 for each vehicle that you park a month. But yet you go after the one of color. saying that he's making $500,000 a year. Yes, he might be, but it depends on the square foot that you have times $25. When you compare the $65 that they have, they make 2 or 3 times as much. But nobody talks about that because they are sacred. So you go after the little black fella because it hurts you that these fellas came up from nothing and created an industry from their own imagination, from their own fortitude, from their own ingenuity, and you don't like it.
And this is exactly why Mr. Miller is convinced the PLP will regain the government come 2022.
I'm not ashamed of what happened to the PLP. We lost. You pick up your marbles, you go home, and you fight another day. And we'll be back, and we're going to win the next government. I guarantee that. Because what is happening right now, if you talk to the regular F&Ms and the PLPs who deserted us, they will tell you they are not satisfied with what's going in this country. First of all, it's difficult to talk to any of the ministers. They got this high-handed approach to governance. You know, they look down on you, you know, and they don't really want to be bothered with the average Bahamian. And you can see it when you look at what is happening in this country today.
Mr. Miller did admit, though, that winning the next general election won't be a shoo-in for the Progressive Liberal Party.
The youths may be fickle, but I tell you who keep you in power is the older people, 40 and older. The youth shift on you all the time. I wouldn't say that the youths abandon us. The people who didn't go to the polls were not youths. They were grown-up people. They were people with families who did not go to the polls. And half of the youths didn't vote. Many of them didn't even register. When I went to take people to register, they wasn't interested in registering. Many of them. So I don't buy this thing, but it's the youths that keep you in government. It's the women that keeps the party in power, the women.
Mr. Miller's comments came during his appearance as a guest on Love 97's daily evening show, On Point. Break barriers, promote success. This is the theme of the 5th annual Andros Business Outlook that was held yesterday. The event seeks to bring awareness to the challenges of Androsian economy. Jeff Birch, past president of the Bahamas Out Island Promotion Board, said given the history of Andros, there is an amazing opportunity for economic growth.
Andros is well poised. We're not fixing a problem in Andros, in my opinion. There is no problem. We haven't done something wrong. We just don't have a lot of development. So if we start development and we start it and we do it in the right way, with transparency and with the government, I think we can really have Andros grow.
Birch said that he thinks every Androsian is not against development, but simply very protective of Andros. He told participants that the most fundamental thing is to educate the public on the wonders of the Bahamas as a whole, then move to Out Island promotions, which will bring business to that island.
I think Andros needs to be known as a nature island, not just another out island. There's always this concept. If you take a box and you put it around the Bahamas, it's bigger than the Lesser Antilles. But if I say to you, I'm going to Martinique, that's that tiny little island. Well, you know, we've been struggling for many, many years to say, I'm going to Eleuthera, and it becomes a destination. Now, we're not there yet, but again, speaking here today, that's an opportunity, definitely for Andros.
You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.